you walk into Kingspan Stadium on a Friday night, first match of the season, Ulster versus Connacht, and you have Rob Balakoon playing, you have Nathan Doak playing, Callum Reid come off the bench, and a couple of the other guys, and then like the fans are talking on the way out. Oh well, at least we got to see them for the first game. Sure, they're not going to be here for the next 6 weeks or whatever it may be, and then like more and more people start to talk, and they're like, well, I can see it from the fans' point of view because they're paying their season tickets to watch them play for Ulster if they're fighting fit, of course, and they're not getting the chance to do that live, at the Kingspan Stadium. So yeah, it's disappointing from that perspective. But for me, now that it's sort of here and it's come around, I think I'm looking forward to seeing how some of the young men are going to go in green. A lot of these lads, the last time they played for an Ireland team, it was under 20s or maybe not even, maybe under 18s, 19s. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, there's a couple of Irish caps in there, but with a small bit of experience. But yeah, it all kicks off, and I'm obviously specifically looking forward to seeing how the Ulster lads go. Friday Night Lights is back again. The first game at Kingspan was a Saturday against Connacht, obviously away. One slight concern is that Ulster conceded 39 points pretty easily against Scarlet. Thankfully they had their shooting boots on with their attack, and very, very clinical. Showed some great class, quality tries. Brought a huge amount of physicality. The Scarlet were always playing catch up in that game, and you might say that they did have a chance to win it, but being at the stadium at the Parky Scarlets, it never felt like they were going to do it. So anytime they got close, Ulster seemed to just ramp it up another gear, and there's a few times they did go into overdrive, like Stuart McCluskey once more. I know we chatted about him last week, and he actually approached me before kickoff, and he said, "Oh, Stevie, thanks very much for the big up there during the week." I was like, "Oh, you must be listening to some of my Ladbrokes content, are you?" And he says, "Oh, you get me a £500,000 deal." And, I had a bit of crack. But yeah, he's playing out of his skin. Ran over John Davis in the first half, set the tone. I talked about big game players last week, Donny, stepping up to the plate, and he certainly has to do it this weekend. And this is the thing about Stuart. I know we're sort of a little bit of repetition from last week, but 2 fantastic games against good opposition, but not world-class opposition. Now he's going to be up against world-class opposition. He has to do it 3 weeks on the bounce. He has to absolutely explode, come out of the traps. Him and Luke Marshall seem to have got a really good centre partnership going there. But yeah, Leinster, a brilliant win against Benetton. Benetton didn't really trouble them too much, but Ulster are really going to have to tighten up their defence, get off the line a lot harder. They slipped off a few tackles at the weekend, give a few cheap penalties away also, and Leinster be able to capitalise off that. Leinster are just so good at getting to the breakdown. Whoever the line is, quick pop off the runners, coming around the corner, and once they get in behind you, they're a very dangerous outfit to stop. So I'm certainly looking forward to this one. It's going to be a brilliant match, but I do fancy Ulster. I do. I think they're sitting pretty at the top of the league, albeit by points difference, but there's just an air of confidence. There's John Cooney, 30 points at the weekend, couple of tries, 20 points off the boot. Bang in form, first game for him of the season. McCluskey, a big vocal point up the middle. Marcus Ray was fantastic at the weekend in the back row. Second rows, they like to chop and change, but Alan O'Connor, flip a heck, that guy just keeps on going and going. I think he's just turned 30, so he's a few more years in the tank. And the front row, I don't think should be troubled that much, especially at home. And if Ulster can get a bit of dominance in their maul like they do against nearly every team, then they'll be certainly favourites for the match. But let's see how it pans out. You can come up with all the excuses of the new coaches need time to bed in, and these new ideas are going to take time to adjust, but that's nonsense, because the actual skill level of the guys, the discipline, missing tackles, lying on the wrong side of the rock, not being physical enough, getting off the line and smashing your opposite man, that's not really coach's fault. I think, the players I've got to step up. Maybe just a little bit sluggish out of pre-season, but they got to ramp it up big time. I sat and watched that Dragons game. Tom Shanklin on commentary made a very poor game pretty good. Like he kept the enthusiasm and everything about going during the game, but it was a very low quality game, and I think it was Dyer, the winger, who crossed for that try, which was inevitably Munster's. He went round Zebo as well once or twice. He paced the burn, but that was the only little bit of quality that was on show. And Munster's attack, geez, it really didn't get going at all. Their try, just before half time off a maul, Stephen Archer pick and go through the middle of the ruck. There was not much enterprise. Fekatoa hasn't got going at all the first 2 games of the season. And when you're slipping up against Cardiff away and Dragons away, you're losing ground on the other teams above you. The top 4 or 5 teams in the league are certainly losing ground. I don't think there's Dragons are going to turn over too many teams at home that are in the top 5 or 6 in the URC this season. So bitterly disappointing. Don't rule Munster out. It's a long, hard season. They've obviously RG Snyman to come back in. The internationals got to get going again. Tadburn come off the bench. If he gets a few miles on his clock, then he'll be back to his best, I'm sure. Joey Carberry only got a bit of game time. Ben Healy seems to struggle at about half to get the team moving forward. And sometimes it's just about working hard around the corner and outworking the opposition, a bit like I chatted about with Leinster. But they just couldn't get a foothold in the game, couldn't get territory. Dragons were flying off the line, smashing anything. And the reason for that, there's been huge turmoil and upheaval at the Dragons with Dean Ryan. Looks like he's being sacked, or he's on his way out, or he has left. Nobody's sure. But he wasn't there all of last week for any of the training sessions. The boys, he gave them a dig after the game when they get smoked in their first outing against Edinburgh, and threw the players under the bus. And I think one of the things he said was, we're supposed to have quality players in there. There's something quite a cheeky remark about the players that you're always supposed to have their backs, and no wonder then he wasn't about for training the following week, and all the rumours came that he was going to be sacked or let go. And the boys went out there and expressed themselves, and I think stuck 2 fingers up at Dean Ryan to say, look, we do have the quality, and maybe it just wasn't you that got the best out of it. So it's an interesting time with the Dragons, but I think all in all, Welsh rugby is certainly better than it was last season. I was impressed by some of the Scarlets tries that were scored. Cardiff, were brilliant in the first round against Munster, and the Ospreys are in and out. So we'll see how the season progresses. But it's a poor start from Munster. And Connacht, bottom 2 teams in the table, and they're going to have to pick up the pace very soon. That's an unbelievable clean out 5 years ago. You blitz him out, there's minimal contact to the head, but he still makes contact with the head. And when Sinatla's over the ball in a brilliant position as well, the jackal, the only way to get rid of him is to hit him with a lot of force. And he is just a little bit too low. But then if you're 6 inches higher, you're going straight onto the top of the neck. So how do you get rid of somebody that's in that strong a position over the ball? And then if you come in slightly from the side, then people are possibly saying that you're targeting, the lower limb area, like we're seeing in the All Blacks Aussie game. And so it's so difficult, especially when you make that half line break, and then there's maybe like a second and a half, 2 seconds of clear daylight for the defense to get over the ball. That's when the big impacts have to come, because you're not going to get rid of them otherwise. So I used to be able to, the old tin opener, wrap the arms around the belly and then spin them out. But obviously, that's now being penalised. It's a really, really difficult one. But first and foremost, you cannot make any contact with the head. And unfortunately for Bundee Aki, he did. And rightly so, he got red carded. And reading the press, and John Dobson, the Stormers coach, has come out and said that Sinatla is potentially going to be out for 3 to 6 months with a serious injury off the back of that, which I didn't realize at the time. So it's I think professional rugby players are always come across as really good role models and examples, and speak to the ref politely. And if there's a yellow card or red card incident, you take your medicine, you jog off. There's no back chat, and it's a little, not sad to see, but you almost expect more from Bundee because he is such a senior player and has so much experience. I just think he was very frustrated of coming off the bench and then getting red carded. And I think Connacht actually scored off, later on in that phase of play. So, it's disappointing to get such a brilliant player back again. He's now going to be banned and out for another period of time, which Connacht just can't afford at the minute, because they are in a bit of a hole. And Andy Friend, I think his post-match comments reiterate everything that I'm talking about, and every other rugby fan, that Bundee Aki deserved the red card, and it was dealt with well by the referee. So I'd say the next time we see Bundee Aki could potentially be in the autumn internationals.